Is there or isn't there life out there? For decades we've heard reports of glowing orbs, mysterious lights and objects that appear to defy the laws of physics. And now the US government has released hundreds of secret videos, photos and witness testimonies. The UFO files are open. So do we finally have our answer?
I could not believe what I was seeing. It was so massive.
It's the age-old question. Are we really alone?
Are there other intelligences, other life forms out there trying to contact us?
Sightings from military officials, pilots, even astronauts.
Reported seeing flashes from a spacecraft at night with their eyes closed.
Secret records dating back 80 years.
Some of the folks I've spoken to say that there's things that are going to, quote unquote, curl your toes. That is so incredible.
A UFO, or as they're now called, a UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena. Hovering, then, in a flash, gone. This video from Syria in 2021, labelled Apparent Instantaneous Acceleration. In waters off Iran, what looks like a UAP flyby in formation.
President Trump has finally said, look, we're just going to put it out there, which I think is the right answer, because this has been something that has been denied for far too long.
Retired US military operative Tony Shaffer has spent his career dealing in secrets.
I think we're much better off with more transparency than trying to deny the reality which we all know exists.
Why has it been kept a secret for so long by multiple administrations?
Because they could. Because these people had the means, they had the ability to do it.
Objects which appear to defy what we know about flying.
I've seen them too. And one in particular when I was in the Philippines, and it was no doubt it was something we did not make. In my own little experience, this thing was probably about a half a kilometer long. It was massive, and it was moving through the air with impunity and with no sound, absolute silence.
While the US has been spending millions tracking this stuff, here, not the case. Back in the 80s and 90s, Australia did, and former Air Force Senior Intelligence Officer Dr. Biddington was part of the team investigating.
Somebody would ring in and say, I've seen some strange lights, and my starting assumption always is that if a person is interested enough to report something, they've actually seen something that doesn't make sense to them.
The RAF wound up its investigation of these strange happenings in 1996.
Once you started to look at many of these reports, they were vague, imprecise. I could see no threat to our national security from any of the reports that have been put onto my desk. So I proposed to the Chief of Air Force that would be a function that we would stop doing.
The Australian Department of Defence has buried its head in the sand on this topic for more than 30 years. Its current long-held position is, move along folks, there's nothing to see here.
UAP researcher Grant Levac says Australia is leaving itself open, pointing out sightings in the Indo-Pacific region.
That's incredibly close to Australian shores, so it makes me wonder, well, if there are incidents of UAP close to Australia, is the Australian Department of Defence taking notice?
We sent the Defence Minister, Richard Marles, a list of questions on the topic. They went unanswered.
The release of these files by President Trump could be seen as a pretty good way of distracting the world from other things going on in his administration. Some can be easily explained. Balloons, birds, a glitch in the sensors, or just atmospheric effects. Others are truly unexplained. But if the believers are looking for concrete evidence of extraterrestrials, they won't be found in these files. We'll have to keep looking.
That's one of the great old age questions is, are we alone?
That's the $1 million question, right? My answer is, I don't know.
So I guess we make up our own minds, don't we?
Well, let's talk. We've got a lot to talk about. So let's talk about this Pentagon release and UAPs. What is your take on all of that?
Yes, well, I said it. I heard it best just today. I had a little bit of time in between laundry switching, and I was watching a reel. And this guy said, I trusted and believed in aliens a lot more before the U.S. government started saying they were releasing the information. And I can find a lot of truth in that. But there's a lot of frustration. Every skiff that I've gone into, there's always a caveat and excuses of different contractors who have onion-like clearance, and not everyone is read into everything. And so while one department or one contractor may be familiar with one layer to the onion, there's so many more beyond that. And I do believe that the files that were released recently, while historic, are underwhelming, especially given what I have seen in classified briefings that I'm not yet at liberty to fully disclose. But there's a lot more that is certainly unexplained. There is a lot of underwater activity, and I'm excited for some of that to come out and have the American public give their input to it. And some of this, just very well may be technology that we have tapped into that we aren't letting our adversaries know about. But most of the things that we are seeing, we are not familiar with other countries having this sort of technology, or even ourselves. And there's a lot that is unexplained, and some that is even supernatural.
I agree with you there. I have my thoughts on what all of this is about. Matt Gaetz was on here a couple of weeks ago talking about the alien hybrid breeding program. Years ago, if I would have said those words, I probably would have ended up somewhere with, in a white jacket. Why now, Lauren?
Yes, well, actually, I had brought this up in a congressional hearing, asking about the rumors of there being breeding with these biological beings and humans. This is something that whistleblowers came to Congress about in private settings, and they wanted us to go to actual bases and see for ourselves what was going on, but that access was denied. So this is not something that I've seen firsthand, but there's certainly been a lot of talk of it. So I can't tell you for sure if that is real or not. But again, look back at the Bible and all of the talk of Nephilim and fallen angels breeding with humans. People think I'm crazy for believing in some things, but I believe in the Bible. That's about as crazy as you could get, because I take it at face value and believe it with my whole heart. And in today's world, that's really something. But even in these, even in some of the documentations that I'm seeing, there's a lot to do with even portals, and I'm interested in more information of that coming out as well. But even to be in a congressional hearing and have enough information to ask the question, is there breeding between these biological beings and humans? There's a there that needs to be answered. And I got a lot of heat from local papers at home and some folks, but we're just asking the questions. If someone is going to come to congressional offices and say that they have seen it, that they have been a part of it, and are read into these programs, then it's worth an investigation. And all of these agencies, even the contractors, when they are too big to answer to government, when they were too big to answer to Congress, the entity that created them, and gives them funding, then it's clear that they're too big, and we have got to rein that in and have more accountability.
I want to circle back about something you said in the first segment about portals. What are you talking about?
Yes. Well, at this time, I'm not able to disclose everything that I have seen, and I certainly don't know what they all are. But this is a huge question mark within the intel agencies. Now, if you think to all of the quantum physics that have been coming out over the past few years and actually bending space and time, I think that this lines up with that very well. But there are definitely phenomenons that happen in our skies that appear to be access to another realm, another time, or just something that
another dimension.
Yeah, maybe. But we don't know what's on the other side of that. But just the images that we have seen, it definitely is something that can't be explained by any other discrepancy we've seen in photos or in videos. And this is a huge question mark that the intel agencies have, or at least that's what they tell Congress. But this is something that I want to see released in its totality. I know that I have not seen all of it yet. And there are also things that I don't think we will ever see released from these files because they aren't able to really hide where our military was at that time, and they don't want to interrupt other missions that may go on in those areas. But there's certainly a lot more than what was released, and that's only creating more questions for the American people at this time. Congressman Tim Burchett from Tennessee has been great on this issue, and then of course Congresswoman Ana Luna from Florida, and this is a bipartisan task force that we are on, where we have Democrat members who are interested in getting these answers as well. So I hope that we can get the answer to what I am told and what I perceive as potential portals. And maybe it's something that is more explainable, or quantum physics and God is just proven to be more right all the time.
There are always uncertainties when it comes to Capitol Hill and them always postponing dates and events, but here is what we know for sure. On Tuesday, June 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a bipartisan group will gather on the steps of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. These people will include Tim Burchett, Eric Burleson, Jared Moskowitz, and Anna Paulina Luna. These are the people that are expected to be there. The press conference will be hosted by investigative journalist Leslie Kane, who helped write the most important article in 2017 addressing ATIP and the Tic Tac, and also hosting will be documentary filmmaker James Fox, who has created documentaries such as The Phenomenon and Out of the Blue. To understand why these lawmakers and others are pushing so hard, it helps to hear how Burchett frames it. For him, this was never about little green men. Here's what he always states on the matter.
We all should have transparency. It's not about little green men or flying saucers, dadgummit. It's about what are we spending tens of millions of dollars on, and why do they keep telling us they don't exist when we have experts in the field. Dan's movie has people, look, they gain nothing from this. All they risk is the reputation.
So what is Grush bringing to all of this? Drawn from the official announcement from AP News, he plans to discuss specific UAP and non-human intelligence evidence he says he encountered inside deeply classified channels, and he will argue those records should be reviewed and released while still protecting real national security concerns. In his words, the president now has a historic opportunity to move from testimony to action, and the American people should be allowed to judge the facts themselves. Grush is not the only person who has said this to the public. A retired senior Army officer named Carl Nell, who worked on the UAP problem for the government, has backed the core of this claim. Here is the clip collected from Vice.
Non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity. This interaction is not new, and it's been ongoing. And there are unelected people in the government that are aware of that. David Grush has said the same thing. David Grush cleared for presidentially level material. So you're looking at people that are in a position to know this, and they're telling you the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's still a cover-up. The trouble with this is, and the White House tells me, that they're really getting pushback from a lot of these agencies, the FBI and some of the other groups, and if you get deep state is what you're getting. And a lot of the things they're putting out now are easily disprovable as not being a UFO. What we need to do is get to more of the stuff that they've shown us as members of Congress in private.
My reaction at the time of the first one was a little bit mixed. Some of that material was interesting, some of it a little less interesting. Quite a few of the clips I thought were just too limited to draw any strong conclusions from them. But I got to say, this second release strikes me very differently. In my opinion, it's definitely a stronger release of particularly some of these videos.
And that's, I think, what we're seeing now, where you're seeing these low-quality, ambiguous videos with, I'll remind you, absolutely zero context, right? No location, no background report from the witness, no metadata, no analysis really provided for us. So we're kind of left to fend on our own. With that being said, every indication I've received is that we're on the start of a regular release cycle that is going to go on for some period of time. And I expect that those videos will likely get less ambiguous. It doesn't necessarily mean that we'll be able to derive a certainty or an answer of what they are, but right now there are a lot of, blurry blob moving around the screen, but I'm aware and others are aware that there is much higher fidelity video that I expect and I hope will come out over the coming weeks.
You say that the communications department of the White House reached out to you. What did they want?
Yes. Well, actually, I've been reached out to comms departments from not just the Pentagon, not just the White House, not just all the different intelligence agencies you can name. They were scrambling to figure out, to be the smartest person in the room, to find out if our president does make an announcement, whatever he says, they need to be ahead of, as they say, ahead of the 8 ball, right?
Right. So what are they asking specifically?
They want to know how to transmit this information to the American public, the fundamentals. We are not alone, or whatever it might be. How do you describe? You have to define the terminology. You also have to say why you've kept this hidden for so many years, who you've hurt to keep it hidden. Why would you hold this back, the nature of reality from humankind? Why would you do it? So the comms people were trying to figure out how to look like heroes.
Now, what's next? Do you guys know what you want for a hearing next?
We've had enough hearings. We just need disclosure.
Yeah.
We need disclosure. We're getting diminishing returns on those hearings. I think what we did with the hearing, the first one, was we lit the fuse.
Yeah.
America says, wow, there is something going on. These are legitimate people. These are heroes.
Yeah.
These aren't like some Tim Merchants of the world that just pull something out of the hat. They are the real deal.